Sounded like my phone went off, which means we are live. Hello, everybody. You know me. Okay, no, you don't, but you know who I am. I'm Issa J, and alongside me is
Liam Landry. We're from the Small Wrestling Alliance channel.
Yes,
And we're both here to do the Bare Bones Geeky podcast, episode 2.
Episode 2, which is really, really fun because this episode is all about Game of Thrones, like we teased last week.
Yeah. Of course, the last season, it starts today, so we want to try to get this out, beforehand. As for formats, we're gonna do a normal format, which is to focus in on an idea, which we're gonna do. We're gonna cover the Night's Watch and the Wall and all along that. Now we're gonna focus on that, but we're also gonna do some other things because it is the beginning of the last season.
Oh yeah.
I went ahead and made a Deadpool for all the characters that we're gonna go through, and we're gonna give us like some points in there, see who gets the most correct answers by the end of the season, and then we're also just gonna when we go over the characters, just go over some of our impressions of them, and maybe some of our hopes or ones or other things that we may see from this season. Yeah, so it's gonna be a little different from most of the episodes that will come further from this, but still. We're still going to have some of the same ideas.
Oh yeah, totally.
Just so you understand from going further.
And it's just for the Geeky Bones, it's still going to be about Night's Watch, the battle for the Wall, and that's where our meat is going to be. And then we're just after we talk about that, we're going to go and move on to our Deadpool. Yeah. So it's still the same format. We're just adding a little bit extra.
Yeah, I'm just saying that so that when other people can understand that the other weeks aren't going to just be like this. It's going to be a lot more just focused, more like the first half of it. But yeah, you want to go into this?
Yeah, let's jump right on in.
Because of course, one of the most important parts of the Night's Watch is the oath, and I have it right up here. And did you want to go through it or what?
Yeah, I'll read it.
Yeah.
And it's just this whole big thing right here.
Yep.
Right. Night gathers, and now my watch begins. It shall not end until my death. I shall take no wife, hold no lands, father no children. I shall wear no crowns and win no glory. I shall live and die at my post. I am the sword in the darkness. I am the watcher on the walls. I am the fire that burns against the cold, the light that brings the dawn, the horn that wakes the sleepers, the shield that guards the realms of men. I pledge my life and honor to the Night's Watch for this night and all the nights to come. And that's what the anybody who becomes a part of the Night's Watch starts to say. What they have to say in order to be in the Night's Watch. We see Jon Snow and Samwell Tully recite this at one of the trees.
Yeah, the weirwood trees.
Weirwood tree. So
that's a very traditional part of the Old God's faith, and in the show, Sam says that the seven, he was baptized in the light of the seven, but they've never really done anything for him, so he wanted to go with his friend, his new friend.
So, yeah, it has a lot of meaning behind that oath when they recite it, because they are literally giving their lives to this cause.
Yeah, I think there's actually interesting parts in the oath itself. Because there's a lot of descriptions that they use, a lot of figurative descriptions. One that I thought was really interesting was the horn that wakes the sleepers. I think that's an obvious reference to the idea of them being the people to warn everyone else, even if the other people don't listen, about when the White Walkers come. But I think it's also an interesting connection to this mythical object known as the Horn of Winter. the Horn of Winter was actually used by one of the multiple kings beyond the wall, Joramon. He used it to wake the sleeping giants.
Okay.
So it may actually have some connections to that. I know in the book, Mance Rayder said he has it, even though some of the other ones, like Ygritte and Tormund, said that he never found it, so it might have just been an idle thread, but he said he had it and had the ability to tear down the wall with it. So it's like a very mythical object. It's never actually shown up in the show or mentioned in the show, which is interesting, but yeah, so I think that's actually a reference to that, the Horn of Winter. And then, of course, the Light of Dawn, it's talking about the fact that the Night's Watch helped push back the White Walkers and end the long nights. So there's a lot of metaphors in there that connect to a lot of the history, which many of the people in the Night's Watch may not even be that knowledgeable of, just because of how old it is.
And then bringing up back to the how old it is, we see that very early on in episode 1 where a frightened man is screaming, "The White Walkers are here," and everyone are like, "There's no such thing. That's myth and legend." And they believe that the longest night, or that war, didn't even happen. It was just a story. And then throughout the show, we see that, oh yeah, it definitely happened.
Yeah, even some people, like some of the Grand Maesters in the Citadel, even believe that it may have happened, given the fact that there are different accounts from different parts of the world, even as far as the very far east in E.T., which was another kingdom that also has its own storyline, or its own mythology about the long nights and about the same concept of the demons. So there's a lot of different cultures that have the same type of story, and you can really compare that to, say, like Noah's Ark and the floods and was it the Geeky? But for Noah's Ark, there's many different religions that actually have flood mythologies based around the same time. I think it was in the book of Gilgamesh. But there's a lot of different ones, and it's kind of like that, and they even look at that as like, it's kind of proof that probably did happen, and it was probably the White Walkers. But they also just back it off because it's just saying, hey, there's still the wall there. So even people who do believe it take it seriously. But of course, as further south you go down, there's less and less people. When you have, even in the north, as you said, Ed Stark didn't really believe in it. One of the only people that did was Old Nan, who was telling stories to Bran about it. And of course, she's like the oldest person in Winterfell. It was said in the books. So that's kind of goes. It's like as each generation, it gets less and less known.
Yeah, and it's kind of like that with even our history. Look at people nowadays with the Holocaust. They're generations now younger than us believing that it never even happened. And soon, and in World War I, people believing that the war wasn't as destructive as it was, which is concerning, but it's unfortunately human nature. A lot of the past in the 1700s of America itself, people are skewing the reality of what truly happened, and we see that very prevalent in the show, especially when it comes to the Night's Watch, which is very captivating. And it's even more captivating because we can take away from the show and put it into reality and be like, we do that as well, and it makes the characters feel more human. And that's with characters with like massive giants, three-eyed crows, and a woman who has 3 dragons. So, in order to accomplish something so grand to make people look and see and feel like these are just humans like us, is a very very interesting and astonishing feat, without a doubt.
Yeah, I guess I'd also say it's pretty interesting that people are like, yeah, there's a days where they had all the dragons there, but giants, no, that's just crazy talk. that's just something the wet nurse tells the little kids to scare them. It's like, I don't know, it seems a little weird, especially when you go into other regions. I think like east of Essos is just east, and Sos. I think there's the other one, Sassos or Sessos. That's basically just south and Essos together. But in there's even more giant creatures, giant lion lizards, wyverns, so many other different type of creatures there. And it's like, you think with all of that they may have bigger, more of an opening of saying, yeah, giants don't seem impossible.
Mm-hmm.
Or White Walkers and stuff, or the children of the forest,
Mm-hmm. Or that dragons could even exist again in one day.
Yeah, what's also interesting is, of course, that's not necessarily the original oath. An interesting character in the history of the Night's Watch is a character only known to history as the Night's King. His original name has been basically stricken from all the records. No one ever talks about it. They talk about him as Night's King and his actions. But before that, when he was there, the oath never talked about, taking a wife or children. And in there, he did take a wife. She was talked about a lot by the people as the Corpse Bride. She was apparently a wildling from the other side of the wall, but had very pale skin and was cold to the touch, and had her eyes were blue on blue. So it's very connected to White Walkers or the Whites themselves in that sense. And he fell in love with her, married her, and together they became the king and queen of the night, or as he called himself, the Night's King. Not necessarily be confused with the Night King, but at the same time, people asked Jojo Ormond about it, and he's been really vague about it, so maybe this Night's King does have some connection and become the Night King. It's not really certain, and it hasn't been set up on the show, so it's probably not going to happen there, but with the Night's King, he goes and does a lot of horrible stuff. He sacrifices children to the White Walkers. People actually believe, what's his name? Craster? The wildling.
The one with all the sister wives?
Yeah, all the daughter.
Yeah, daughter wives.
They believe that he's actually one of their children, because it was said that he was the offspring of a wildling and a Night's Watchman. So they believe that maybe he's one of the children, and that's why he can keep on carrying on the tradition of sacrificing boys to the White Walkers, so that they can make more White Walkers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that was a very eye-opening scene when you just see this baby being grabbed by the Night King, and he's able to then turn that baby into a White Walker, versus having to kill it and being a White Walker zombie, which makes you feel like maybe the White Walkers are more than what we think.
Yeah, maybe more of a sentient creatures that can actually make deals and fulfill them with people, and more about the concept of their idea of just trying to protect themselves and keep their race going, and maybe that's actually the reason why they're attacking now. Yes, but eventually the Night's King was stopped with the help of Joramun, the King Beyond the Wall, as stated earlier, and the King of Winter, Brandon the Breakerstalk. They joined together, fought, and overthrew the Night's King. And while it's not known about who the actual Night's King was officially, Old Man has stated that she believes that it was another Stark, and another Brandon Stark at that. Brandon is a very common name in the Stark family. Historically, we didn't even talk about even more Brandons as it goes on.
Mm-hmm.
So it's possible.
That's like another episode for another day.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk even more about at least one more big one here. And it's very possible, because when you really think about it, you know, if it was a Stark, it would make sense why the other Starks, as it was said, Brandon the Breaker made sure no one talked about his name. It makes sense why they want to kind of keep that as a secret, as like a dark secret for their family that they don't want to talk about. And after that, the part of the no wives and stuff was added to the oath. We know what the traditional oath is because at let me bring up the proper name so I don't mess this up. At the castle of Nightford, which is the castle of Nightford, which is what the castle that the Night's King ruled from. There is a door, and we do see Nightford in the show. We don't see this door, but it's the passage that Sam uses and then meets up with Bran and his group.
Yeah.
It's at that same castle. At Nightford, there is a door that's made of weirwood. It has a face carved in it, and apparently it talks to you and asks, who is the past here, and you have to respond back by giving it the traditional oath of the Night's Watch, and that's what Sam does. And in it, it does not have the I shall take no wife. So it seems like because of this incident, that's when they had to really hammer down on that point that you cannot take a wife or have children because they were worried about this happening again. It's also interesting to think, was that really a plan from the White Walkers? Did they just have female White Walkers, or did they make one specifically to do this?
Yeah, like you said a little bit earlier, fear for the extinction of their own kind would make them attempt something like this.
Yeah.
I thought it was very interesting that you brought up how it could be Brandon versus Brandon, and one of the Starks is just stricken from the record, not even talked about again. Also, because I can really see that, something like that happening. Even within our own family lineage, there might be a black sheep in the family that just other family members don't talk about, don't want the younger generations to know, and by generations 3 or 4, 5, it's like he never even existed. So that's really interesting. That could even be the case. And who would this Stark be if he isn't the Night King? And is the Night King doing this maybe not in fear for his race, but maybe the Night King was the Night King's father-in-law, and now he's just out for revenge all these years later? It just took him this long to acquire this massive undead army.
Yeah. It should be said that George R. R. Martin has stated that from their perspectives, the White Walkers are their own heroes. So from their side, it is supposedly a good and noble reason that they're doing this. It's not just a mindless monsters or zombies. So it could be a concept of preserving their race. It's talked about in the books a lot more about Children of the Forest, talking to Bran, saying how when men came here, it's led to the near death and extinction of giants, mammoths, children of the forest, dire wolves, and all the other creatures on the other side of the wall. So White Walkers can be in that category and also feel like they're going extinct and just kind of fighting back. And of course, we know initially that's what they were created to do, was to fight back against the humans created by the Children of the Forest. but just kind of gotten out of hand from them.
Yeah, because even in the show, when the Children of the Forest talks about how they created the White Walkers, and then because from man, and then at a certain point they then had to team up with man in order to push them back and attempt to wipe them out. So there's a lot of undertones there that we can get into at a later time. Let's now let's go from the history of the wall, and let's go more into Mance Rayder and those and the battle for the wall. And one thing, like from watching it like both times as an episode, that's a ballsy move.
Mm-hmm.
To have a show that goes from many different locations multiple times throughout an episode to then just randomly in season 4 be specifically set at the wall and just beyond it with Mance Rayder, and that's it. Not many shows I've ever seen has done something in that way. There's always that here's a location, here's a location, here's a location. But Game of Thrones, they felt like they could do this, and I personally love this episode. It's one of the most intense war feeling episodes, and so many of the Night's Watch that you just don't expect to get killed off in the way they do die. The cool guy with the bow, and he finally is now no longer a coward, gets his first kill, saves one of the other Night's Watch, and immediately gets shot by I think Ygritte, the little kid standing up and getting his revenge out of nowhere, the giant running in and trying his hardest to break the defense,
mm-hmm.
killing off 4 others, another main face when you first meet the Night's Watch with Jon. Another one of the main faces, killed off, sacrificing himself. Mance Rayder only truly losing because somehow, some way, Stannis Baratheon and Davos Seaworth and his entire army makes it there, and Mance Rayder has no choice but to surrender. Like, all this fighting and death, and who knows how long it would have lasted, and if Mance Rayder would have actually won, if not for Stannis's boom, here I am. What are your thoughts in experiencing this episode?
It was pretty epic, and a great battle, great fight scene, had a lot of great intensity to it. I liked how they have Jon having to take up the reins and really put him on note there, because before that, like, he doesn't have, I don't know, he doesn't have necessarily the greatest run of things, because it's like,
Mm-hmm.
couldn't kill the wildling woman that ends up getting him kidnapped and stuff, and then he has to fight there. So it's a real point where he gets to be the hero and save everyone himself. So it was a great moment for Jon as a character. It was just very entertaining overall. Clearly, must have taken a while to shoot. I like the scene, like you said, when the giant was charging at him in the tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just kind of saying their oaths as he's barreling and pulling out the swords. It's I guess too bad that happened like off screen, the actual
Mm-hmm.
impact and death. But it was all really cool and stuff. And I like the innovations that the Night's Watch have developed to defending the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Like the giant anchor thing that swings out, and the bombs that they had.
Yeah, and a lot of really good character moments from 2 of the cowards. One of the guys who ran away from the battle and still tried to get John exiled and eventually killed, runs away and hides and ends up seeing Samwell and the Wildling girl.
And it's Sam the baby.
Yeah, Sam the baby. And
Gilly.
Gilly.
Mm-hmm.
And him having to basically make a choice. The other guy who could have let John die at one point, but then ends up, I think, saving him in that episode as well. The introduction and we've seen him already beyond the wall, but the introduction of Giant's Bane and being as a fighter, like in a war, seeing just what he can do. It is one of the, like you said, most epic episodes, and it's so contained.
Yeah. Which
is so impressive. If you've ever, if you ever seen the movie The Raid Redemption, the entire movie is just shot in one apartment complex, except for the very beginning, and it's just an action scene and action scene and action scene, all there, very self-contained. But the fight scenes are so well choreographed that it feels like an epic, even though it's all in one location.
Another one that people may know more of would be the first Die Hard.
Yes.
Because all the action took place in that one building.
Yeah, exactly. And as well as the other movie that Lena Headey has been in, or Headley has been in. She plays Mama. Carl Urban is the lead character. Why isn't that Dread?
Oh yeah,
the remake.
The remake one is contained in one of their I don't remember what they call it, but they have like an entire self-contained communities, and that's where everyone lives in. Yeah, I was also thinking of that one as well with it. But yeah, I also like the part where the little kid kills. How do you pronounce it? Because I pronounce it differently. Ygritte. Kills him, and he's like looking at John. It's like, "Hey, you're proud of me, right?" And it's like,
and then John is just distraught with grief.
It's like just kind of an unintentional comedic moment, but it's it still fits well in there. And I love the afterwards when they're doing the vote, when Sam talks about the coward, who ran away, and it's like, I found he was there hiding with the women and children, and I found him in a puddle of himself. So that was great. It happened afterwards, but it was set up from here. So that was a really good point, and it was a good point for Sam as well, because it was one of Sam's brave heroic moments for the show. I think the first one, of course, being the defending of Gilly from the White Walker. But the 2 times defended her. Yes.
The fact that he was the reason they survived a complete massacre from the rebelling Night's Watchmen.
Yeah, so I guess then 3 times too, because they had the one after that.
And then when the White Walker was there, and he kills him with Valerian steel or dragon glass.
No, he used dragon glass.
Because
they found the dragon glass.
Yeah.
That's when they first found out about it. The first time you've seen Valerian steel was with Jon Snow at Hardhome.
So it's very interesting that Valerian steel and dragon's glass are the 2 things that wipes out a White Walker.
Yeah, both connected to fire. Dragon glass obsidian is created from lava. It's actually also known in the real world as lava glass, and Valerian steel is, of course, created from the magic from dragons. Probably uses dragon fire. That's probably why no one can recreate it, because you can't get heat that high as dragon fire. So both things very associated with heat and fire elements are used to kill the ice.
And then and then after the battle is already won, and they're, like you said, trying to get their next person, and then I loved it when is his name also Aegon, but the what is it? What is the type of person Sam wants to become?
The Maester?
Yeah, the Maester, who we learn in season 1 is a Targaryen. He is the last one to vote. He's ailing. He's almost dead, and he casts his vote, and it's for Jon Snow, the deciding vote, and he becomes your new commander for the Wall, for the Night's Watch, and it's just one of those moments where you're just like, the older commander, it's not Jorah, but it's close. Jor Mormont, the first commander, picks Jon Snow as his
steward, yeah.
And Jon at first is very upset about this, but then after something Sam
was talking to him about how he wants you to be there at all his meetings and learn from him how to be a leader.
Mm-hmm. And then when he's caught because of the wildling girl, and you find out that the scout also was caught, and he spent that time with Mormont, and he's like, listen, you're gonna have to kill me or we're both dead. And he's like, what? You're just gonna have to kill me and just tell them that you've turned on the Night's Watch, or we are both dead. It's that's that first moment where Jon has that realization of, this is my start at being a hero, which leads him to that battle for the Wall. And it's not only an epic as an episode, as a war, but it's an epic as a character-driven episode with just Jon, when you see all of his teachings from Mormont and his father, and all of the teachings of
as we know now, Uncle.
Yes. And teachings of the Mance Raider and all the other wildlings, all the emotions he has to go through each and every scene he's in, because every single time it's different. It's an entire epic just for him. What are your thoughts on that aspect of it?
I just wanted to say that I don't remember his actual name, but his nickname is Half Hand. The guy he killed. He got that because his hand got cut in half by an axe from a wildling, and he actually had to learn how to fight with his left hand. Interesting connection to Jaime Lannister then, when you think of it. But no, it's a great epic because it has to show him go through a hero's type of journey, and also helps him from a character perspective because he learns the concept of the wildlings and what they really stand for and all, and that they're really the free people. So that helps him in the future, especially going back to the the fighting the Battle of the Bastard as it goes later on, because where would he been without the wildling to help him and all? Where would he be without the wildlings to help him to fight the Night King and everything? So it shows him going back as a leader from different perspectives to understand when you have to do things that you don't really want to do, like kill someone that you're with, a brother of the Night's Watch, when you have to really kind of go and deceive people, which, man, why couldn't he keep that when it came to Cersei in season 7 there? I couldn't even learn to lie then. And then also learning about compassion, like his uncle's compassion, because his uncle's really well known as being a very compassionate person when it comes to forgiving people for the things and the understanding of what his real duty is. And
we're talking about Ned, correct?
Yes, okay. Ned Stark, yeah.
Not the other uncle.
No, not Viserys. He's not known for being kind, but yes, Ned is of course known for being very merciful to to take the Greyjoy rebellion, for instance, Stannis Baratheon was telling Robert that he should kill off the last of the Greyjoys, but Ned actually came in and said to not kill them off and instead just have Theon be as a hostage to take to keep them in line. So it's multiple times when it's shown that he's been very ability to put things behind him and allow peace and mercy. Mm-hmm. So it's really helped Jon grow as an overall leadership position. So he learns that what you have to do to survive the use of force and also use of kindness and understanding what your enemy is going through.
Yeah, and we see,
and also should say it also helps build the divide. I don't think that I've never seen anything about the full concept of why the wildlings, the children of the forest, and the giants left the other side, because it was said that the wall was built by another Bran Stark, Bran the Builder, thousands of years ago, and it's never really said like the giants helped them build it and the children of the forest helped them as well, and it's not really made certain like what happens to why they choose, why they leave, why they're on the other side there. But I feel it may have to do a lot with the Andals, their invasion, because they tried to make the rest of them submit, and I think the wildlings came from tribes in like maybe mountain tribes and everything that didn't want to submit, so they were basically kicked to the other side of the wall along with maybe other groups. And so it shows kind of the reversal of that, because the Starks do have the blood of the first men in them, much like the wildlings do. So it's also a good reversal of the history that's left these people disadvantaged.
Yeah. And then when you and of course the blood of the first men and all that, that's easily another episode for it later on down the line.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think without a doubt that this episode was a tipping point, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but or if you can tell me your ideas on this. But this episode is a tipping point where we see something really epic and big go down, and of course the way it ends with Stannis coming in to save the day. Then immediately after, when Stannis tries to overstep his bounds and Jon is still trying to work with him, but there's obvious tension there. Most of the people would not have voted Jon Snow as the commander already if it wasn't for the fact that he got back to the wall, was able to get all this stuff set up and lead everyone to this point. They already know the first commander is dead, and now they know that Mance Rayder's coming. Jon Snow would not have been able to be a leader at all if it wasn't for the fact he went through this war and everyone finally opened up their eyes and saw he knows what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think on that?
No, I think that's very true. Very true statements. Like, basically, it's all the stuff that made Jon the character that he is, and going further, it really helped other people. And I would also say to Stannis Baratheon, I think that was some of the nicest Stannis was at that point. He gets to make them. I think I've seen the commentary on it, and part of it was to make a distinction between that and then him killing his daughter. Because he had that nice speech with his daughter. I think that's when the commentary, the directors were saying that's why they put it there. When he talked about how much he loved his daughter. But yeah, it's overall, they put him as the Lord Commander because they felt that he actually had the knowledge. He didn't back down when he needed to. He was able to rally people and help elevate people to so that they can also fulfill the whole point, because you left the wall with the other guy, who I believe is now basically the Lord's commander.
Yes, we only see him once in season 7, but I'm pretty sure he is the Lord's commander now.
Yeah. But anyways, that before, so he can go down. Yeah, he was able to elevate people and work as a true leader during that when he really needed it. So it's all about the evolving character of Jon Snow.
Mm-hmm. And then we're gonna go straight to our final little bit here. Mm-hmm. I was gonna do questions and answers, but this is basically what we're doing now. And next week it'll have like the same format, like you said, to begin with. At the end will be a little bit different. It won't be this. This is just for a special because Game of Thrones, it starts tonight. We're all excited. He dies at the end of season 5. And it takes a couple episodes before he's resurrected. Mm-hmm. You can tell just how strong his leadership is in that moment when he comes back. Because all of the men who killed him, he puts their necks in that noose, in those nooses, noosai, however you pluralize that, and he pulls that lever. Even the kid is not spared, and when he walks and he sees that that man that he gives the leadership to, the commandership to, and he's like, "Wait, you're still the Night's Watch?" And it's like, "No, I gave my life to the Night's Watch, and I already died for the Night's Watch. My watch is done." And he leaves, then to become leader of, or at least king of the North, and also become in that battle with Ramsay Bolton. When he's betrayed, right before his death, when he's betrayed, I see from all those people jealousy and the fact that they just don't understand just how wise he is becoming. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he still makes a little bit of mistakes along the way, especially just not immediately kneeling to Daenerys Targaryen. And then we have a really good scene when he meets up with Giantsbane again. But what are your thoughts on the people who have seen his growth, seen his growth to Lord's Commander, and then turn on him? And they were a part of that battle with him.
Well, I would say 2 of them were mostly cowards who kind of left, and I when it goes to the other ones, like the kid, it would make sense because he just can't get over the emotional loss of his family. Mm-hmm. So it kind of goes with the idea of the circle of violence. If you talk to the Wildlings, they'll say that we don't want to work with the Night's Watch because Night's Watch hunted us down and killed us, and you say that to the Night's Watch they don't want to work with the Wildlings because the Wildlings hunt down and kill Night's Watchmen. Mm-hmm. So it's this repeated circle of violence. You can look at, say, maybe the Hatfields and McCoys, and then the other just countries where the violence goes so far back, no one really knows how it starts. It should be said that the Wildlings, their story told of how the wall was built, it was said the giants were hypnotized by Bran the Builder and were used as slaves. So he even goes further back that no one knows exactly why it was started, but since one side started and it just kept on going and going and going, that's a circle of violence that it's difficult to get people to stop doing it. I mean, they don't really stop doing that in the real world. You look at, say, Israel, Palestine, or India, Pakistan, countries where they just had long-term warfare and violence between each other. So it's understandable, but doesn't really fix the things about how they reject the concept of it. But it also does show the importance of him joining with and helping other people, because that allowed them to go to have the Wildlings come to the aid of Jon Snow and his friends to help him, because he probably wouldn't have beaten the rest of the Night's Watch after his revival if it wasn't for the Wildlings showing up when they did.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, that was our the Night's Watch episode.
Can I also say a few of the things?
Yep.
Number one is it's Aemon Targaryen.
Aemon.
And it's really the Night's Watch being the one thing that kept him alive, because he had to give up everything. So Robert didn't see him as a threat, because he gave up his lordships. And because at that point in time, he of course would have been the natural successor to the throne, but since he gave it all up, that's why Robert didn't feel him as a threat and worry about him killing him. The other one I want to talk about was another one of Targaryen blood, and it was never mentioned in the show, only really mentioned in the books. But he does have a great backstory, and that's the Three-Eyed Raven, known as first nickname as Blood Raven, but it's Brian Green. But he is a Targaryen bastard, and there's a lot of storylines between him and his other brothers and sisters with the Blackfire Rebellion, which is another whole concept of itself, and also involved the concept of the Golden Army, which is being introduced in the next season, because that was started by a Targaryen bastard who was exiled after the Blackfire Rebellions. But he's an old, interesting character himself. Became Hand of the King and also the Master of Whispers. It was said he used magic to spy on people. Maybe magic connected to his eventual becoming the Three-Eyed Raven. But eventually, he lured a group of Blackfire supporters into the castle and killed them all. And the new king said, we can't have people not trust the government, because of you doing stuff like that. So he sent them to the wall with Aemon at the same time. Eventually, he was on the wall, and he got a vision, and that led him to leave, go across, and end up with the children of the forest in that tree to start everything. So I think that's also a really interesting story. Overall, his storyline is very interesting in the books.
Oh yeah.
But it's an interesting point to say. The Three-Eyed Raven is also a former Night's Watchman.
Yeah, and just how far the Night's Watch goes. And I wanted to do the Night's Watch because this final season, the Night's Watch is going to be a big part of it. That we already 100% know, because they've been a big part of the series since episode 1. The first thing we see in Game of Thrones is the Night's Watch, or at least 3 members of them before they die. So that tells you just how much importance the Night's Watch has in the series, and I can't wait to see just how much importance the Night's Watch plays out at the end. That's the episode. And before we officially end the stream and episode, it's going to be our Deadpool, not to be confused with Marvel's Deadpool.
No,
but
there's an interesting concept there. Deadpool was in Game of Thrones.
Very much so. But before we get started, here is one of the biggest things for me, and why I ultimately ended up choosing for us to talk about the Night's Watch and focus on the war, is because obviously Jon Snow is a big part of both, and he has a big role coming in the next 6 episodes. Unless, of course, they made a 7th episode secretly that we don't even know about. We'll see. But it ties into what we're about to see, and it was one of the most interesting episodes, in my opinion. And you said you really liked it as well.
To make it a surprise 7th episode. That's an entire concept is like a week-long episode, 24/7.
Everyone would end up dead because no one would want to leave it. But yeah, that's just that's why. And then I've always found the Night's Watch fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was really, really cool. All right, let's get started on this Deadpool of Game of Thrones characters. Who's gonna live? Who's gonna die? This is super duper dark, everybody.
Yeah, it's a lot of connections from groups like start off with the Starks, Lannisters, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
So it may seem a little random, but it still has some connections. We'll start off with Jon Snow.
I think he will survive this series. He's basically Jesus. In he dies 3 days later. He gets resurrected. I don't think it was 3 days. In the actual show, I think it was a little bit less time than that.
Seemed like a lifetime between the seasons, apparently.
And then, but yeah, I think he will survive.
I think he will live as well.
And we have Sansa Stark, and I think when it comes to the full-on Starks, I think she, unfortunately, because I love Arya, and I did love Bran before he became the Three-Eyed Raven, I think she will be the only Stark to survive. Because...
Stark to be dead?
Hmm?
Do you mean only Stark to be dead, or...
No, I mean alive.
Okay.
I think she's going to survive.
Okay, because, I mean, Jon Snow's still technically half a Stark.
Well, yeah, true.
So that's yeah. I don't think she's going to be the only one, but I think she is going to be alive and well.
Because my thought process is, she's grown a lot, and I think something's going to happen that is going to surprise us. She's going to come out on the other side. And at the end of the series, she will be the queen of the North.
Yes.
And I will get to more of that later on down the line.
Yeah, and I want to come to the defense of Sansa Stark here.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of people will say that she's very, like, not doing anything or stuff. But when you look into it, you know, the Battle of the Bastards... That would have been lost if it wasn't for Sansa.
True.
When she is left in charge of Winterfell, not only does everyone's like, oh, now we regret it and we wish you were there, but you actually see her going around and like preparing the food rations and going in there. And you don't see that a lot when leaders are actually doing stuff to be leaders. So she actually
she's say what you will about her time in King's Landing, she learned a lot.
Yeah.
And she is now, and then the fact that the one person who protected her brought her all the way back to Jon and Arya and Bran, and he's trying to use her again to become queen, to have this and that, marry her, have his own lordship, and she turns on that and is like, you did this, you killed my aunt. You conspired against us. You tried to pit me and my sister against each other. You're found guilty, and Arya just goes and slits his throat. That is a moment where you really see her strength. Mm-hmm. She doesn't need to be told how to survive anymore. Now she knows.
You know what's interesting is you not really connected to this, but you know. From the Vale, the one like military leader they have there, that's always been around. It was one of his sons was actually one of the first three of the Night's Watch that we see on the wall.
Okay,
he was like one of the three. I think he was one of like the leader groups from there. So that's just an interesting tidbit. That the research is that his son with that.
I don't know. I don't know his name, and I don't think he's here. But what do you think about the cousin? We see him sparingly every now and again, and he went off to learn how to be a man. We didn't see him in the last couple. I think we saw him a little bit. Yeah. Do you think he's gonna like show up?
it could happen, but it's not really sure. You know, another interesting theory is people have is that Robin's actually the son of Peter Baelish. Because they said John Aaron was like big, broad shouldered blonde hair, and Eliza, of course, had red hair just like her sister did. But so you have this little small undersized kid with brown hair, just like Peter Baelish was. He was always a small kid with brown hair, and that's always like the big defining factor is the hair and the eye color.
Yeah,
that's in Game of Thrones. It's how you tell when people are there. So yeah, so I don't know.
A lot of times they're supposed to like take the look of their father, and if it's a woman, take the look of their mother, which is why Sansa has red hair. Arya, I think she has brown.
Yeah, she does kind of connects to her aunt because Ned Stark says that you remind me of her in the same look as well, and in interactions. They were both kind of tomboys.
And then, of course, Rickon looked like their mom more. Bran and Robert looked like Ned. So, yeah. All right, let's go on to the next one.
Oh, yeah. Arya
Most
Stark.
people's favorite character. When it comes to characters, there's a top 5. It's either Jon Snow, Arya Stark, Daenerys Targaryen, Tyrion Lannister, or what's the other? What? There's one more popular than the Hound. Unfortunately, I'm sorry.
Not to me, there isn't.
I know. Jon Snow, Arya Stark, Tyrion Lannister, Daenerys Targaryen, and
people like Jaime Lannister.
Oh, Brienne Tarth. I think she's more popular than Jaime. I've seen a lot of videos where everyone loves Brienne of Tarth. But yeah,
she's a little too mean to Podrick. they actually said that in their commentary together, and it's like, oh yeah, there's me yelling at you again.
But so Arya Stark, I think she's not going to survive.
Yeah, you kind of dipped your hand there.
Yeah.
Now, do you think she's going to turn into a white?
I do not believe she'll become a white Zom.
Yeah, because zombies themselves are just called whites and not White Walkers.
However, I don't. And by whom is who's going to kill her? Yeah. Correct.
I felt most of these are probably going to come down to the Night King or whites, but yeah, I just thought that was like a little twist to give some other idea, but.
Arya's still in the north, and the numbers think it's going to be the Night King, right?
Yeah.
But for Arya, I think it's going to be someone different that we don't see coming.
Hot Pie.
No, Hot Pie. Oh, he's not on here either.
Oh, no.
It's going to be controversial. She's about to do it. She's about to knock off another kill off of her list. But Cersei Lannister kills her first. I think Cersei is going to be why Arya Stark gets killed off. Which will suck.
Well, I think she's going to live. I will say that it's been said that Arya Stark is George R. R. Martin's wife's favorite character. So and she asked him to not kill her off. Though granted, the show can always differ from the books themselves. So in the books, she's probably going to live to the end, or else his wife's going to be mad at him. And I think in original transcripts to his like, what do they call it for, like not editor, but someone in the like agent for the publishing, like he sent them, and I think he said that Arya was going to be one of the ones to make it to the end as well. So in the book, she's probably going to survive, but I think she'll survive in the show as well. But yeah, yours could be right as well.
I want her to survive.
I just don't think they want to face that backlash.
True, But I mean, they ended up killing off Jon Snow. They brought him back, yes, but they still killed him off, and they had to deal with that backlash. And they're like, well, we already have a plan. We're not telling you what it is, but hey, we did it. We did a thing that you guys hate. Yeah.
Well, do you think Cersei killed her? Then when they're about to kill Cersei, she rips off her face, and it's actually Arya has been.
That would be so epic. I'd be so happy.
Cersei the whole time.
Oh,
and
man.
they're wondering why they're winning so easy. It's because she deliberately thrown the kingdom from.
But yeah,
You think dead?
I want Arya. I want all the rest of the Starks to survive because they had a bad moment. But Bran, I also think he will die.
Yeah, I also believe Bran will die. For one major reason is I believe the Night King wants to go after him more than anyone else. Like, I
think he serves a huge threat to the Night King.
Because the Night King deliberately would have went out of his way to make sure to go to that tree just to kill them.
Mm-hmm.
When the Night King didn't bother to kill Jon Snow, even though he had 2 chances to do it. You know, he could have definitely have killed him at Hotholm, or when they were across the wall and he got left behind from the dragon.
Yeah.
He didn't even bother to make sure that he was dead. So Jon Snow is very low priority to the Night King.
That's very interesting.
Whether that's the Night King failing there or not. Either way, it's very low priority to him.
And, that might be
Bran Stark is very high in priority for him.
Yeah, the 3-Eye, because he's always tried to get into that area, but it's always been guarded.
Yeah,
he does not want the 3-Eyed Raven around at all.
And it definitely should be said too that it's like it wasn't like he had the vision that got touched by, and then next thing happens. It's there. It's clearly sometimes past. So he clearly got it. And it's like, this is my opportunity. Moved all his army just to go get to him. So it's not like they were already there. It clearly.
And with one of the biggest sacrifices of a show ever, Hodor.
Then you also have the child of the forest,
and
then also the dog Summer, the direwolf Summer.
That was so sad.
Sacrifices. Oh, can you imagine what they're gonna do with White Hodor? Because I'm sure he's a white now.
Yeah.
The Night King will probably send him in there to kill him because
one of the hardest scenes to
see. To kill Hodor.
Yeah, one of the hardest scenes to see was we got to watch one of the giants. He was such a cool guy. He ends up teaming up with Jon. He's like, and he dies, and at what'd you call that place? Where him and the wildlings go try to get the rest of the wildlings to go with them. Hardhome. And then he ends up having
this. What giant are you talking about?
It was the giant.
Because there was the giant that came with them.
Yeah.
That died at Winterfell. Was there another giant?
Yeah, there was a second one.
Okay.
And at Hardhome,
because another was
he
the
was
giant
there.
that had the what the fuck you looking at?
Yeah, one he gets bit and he ends up dying, and then at the opening of season 7, he's one of the first White Walkers you see, one of the whites you see, and you're like, oh, the poor guy, no. But yeah, I don't think Bran will become a white. I think he's gonna know something at the end. He's gonna survive all the way to the final episode, and I think he's gonna find out how to kill the Night King, and he's gonna have to sacrifice himself to do so. I think he's gonna kill himself, and that's gonna be the start of the episode, possibly, or maybe the end of episode 5, and then by doing so, it gives Jon and the rest of the team the insight of how to go about it.
What if it's the concept, and it's just throwing us out there, that he wargs into the Night King, and then it has to tell him to kill him, because killing him while he's warging the Night King would also just kind of disconnect the Night King and kill him as well. And that's why he fears the Three-Eyed Raven so much, is because he fears anyone who could warg into someone, because he knows the potential there.
That would be huge. Like the Night King's about to win, about to sit on the throne. Bran is still alive, and a few of the other guys are still alive, and he does that thing, and he's
tell Jon,
I'm gonna do something, kill me, and it's gonna break Jon's heart, but he's already had to do something like that, like we talked about earlier. That could be huge. That would be huge if that's actually what happens. That we would be like, good call. Because he's not only just the Three-Eyed Raven, he's also what the other one is. He's now both. What do they call him?
The what?
That all the Starks can do. What are they called?
The
Wargs. He's a warg, a Stark, and a Three-Eyed Raven. He's like the trifecta of powerful right now.
Yeah. And it could also be a mirroring to the idea of Jojen, because it was said by the Three-Eyed Raven that Jojen knew when he had his dreams that he was gonna die here, but he still knew he had to do it. So it could be the completion there of the idea of knowing that you may have to die, but still going through with it because of the fates. It could mirror somewhere of that. But we can go into the next one, Cersei Lannister.
If she survives, I think everyone's gonna riot, because everyone is just waiting for her death since episode 1.
Yeah, if Arya Stark and Cersei if Arya Stark dies and Cersei Lannister doesn't,
there's gonna be a war.
Riots in the streets.
There's gonna be a war. I think Cersei's definitely gonna die, and
by whom is the interesting point.
True.
Because you did have the character Maggie the Frog, the fortune teller, who tasted some of her blood and gave her the prediction of the future. Predicted the 3 children that would die. Also predicted that her younger brother is going to be the one to kill her, and she has 2 younger brothers, and Jaime, who's a twin but came out second, and then also Tyrion. So a lot of people think it's going to be something to throw you off, that you think Tyrion, but it's actually going to be Jaime.
I guess we'll go with Jaime because of it.
Yeah, I'm going with Jaime as well.
Because that would be the complete bit of a story arc from his incestuous love with his sister to killing her, which now goes down to Jaime. Because we could talk about our hatred of Cersei Lannister all day. That's another episode in and of itself. Jaime Lannister, he's gonna die.
Yes.
Tyrell said as much. Those who don't remember Tyrell, they were the Flower family, the House of Roses, I think they're called.
Yeah, because that's their sigil. Thinking of deliberately the Queen of Thorns, the grandmother, the matriarch.
Yes. Before she died, she said, "Yeah, you know how your son died? It was me. I didn't expect that to happen, but it was quite a show." And she, at the end, she goes, "You know, she's going to be the death of you." And he goes, "I know. I think if he is the one that kills Cersei, he's going to die because he's just so distraught over it and not see it coming. It's going to be the Night King. And he will become a white.
That's okay. That's interesting.
I
was going with. I thought when you said distraught, I was going with himself. I thought it was going to be a murder, but he just couldn't handle it anymore, and also take his own life.
I was thinking that way too. I was gonna put himself as well. But if Bran has to sacrifice himself in order to save the day, how massive would it be if he actually gets turned into a white?
It would be pretty massive.
Everyone, I think that's going to be like at the end of the halfway point, potentially, and everyone is going to just be like, oh my gosh, this changes everything. One, how is the Night King already in King's Landing? Two, oh my gosh, the Lannister monarchy is now officially dead. And three, now we have to deal with the Night King already, faster than we originally thought. When we thought they were there in bloody the north, but somehow they're already down here in the south. That's gonna be huge.
Yeah, you may have given it away. Now we have Tywin Lannister. I know you said after Jaime's death, then it would be the end of the Lannisters. Was that giving away what you think of?
Actually,
Tywin?
No, because for the most part, he's already given up his namesake. His dad did that to him long ago, and he turned his back on them. I think after all this crud happens, I think he'll survive and still be the hand of the king or queen. But I think he's not gonna become. Once all this stuff happens, I think he'll survive. I think he will. I think he'll be the only lion to survive to bring about a new Lannister beginning.
I don't think he's going to survive.
Do you remember when that happened?
No.
Drat.
This one's just permanently off.
Let me. I can fix that. Don't worry.
Okay. Well, as we were laying off, we had. We both had Bran Stark dying. As possibly self-sacrifice. We had Cersei Lannister dying. I think we both. Did we both say from Jaime?
Yeah, we both say Jaime's dying.
Yeah. No, did we both say Cersei's dying from Jaime?
Yes.
Jaime Lannister dying, you think, from the Night King, I think from himself, a suicide. And I think Tywin Lannister is going to die from Daenerys. What you looking for?
Oh, you think the Night King is going to kill Bran?
I know the Night King, that's one of his big targets. I'm not sure. The self-sacrifice thing was just a thought I had afterwards.
Yeah. Okay.
So, but it's not 100% certain. But yeah, I think she's gonna go the way of a Mad Queen. I think her paranoia is just gonna kind of get to her. And I think she's just gonna eventually really end up turning. I think it's gonna create interesting things. I know Amelia, the girl,
Amelia Clark.
Yeah, Amelia Clark, who plays her, said that she hopes people aren't like upset with the character because she's gonna have to go through and do dark things in there. So it sounds like it's going to be Dark Path, and I think it's going to set up something else when we go into the next one, which is Daenerys Targaryen. And I'm going to go with you saying that she's going to live.
Yes, I think Daenerys Targaryen will live because I think, like I said, Tyrion I think is going to live. Even if she does go through the dark things, I think that that's going to be mostly because of her visions in season 2 and her finding out about Jon Snow and his real birthright. And I think it's going to take her down some dark paths. But I think at the end she will be okay. She will come back, and she will be a mainstay in the final kingship. Like in the final, when we get that final scene of who survives, I think she's going to be there right next to Jon Snow, not as a lover, because incest, but as like a main presence. Like there's a hand.
Yeah, you think of them in bed together, and Daenerys is like, say my name, and he's like, Auntie D.
Oh no. But yeah, that's how I see it, because I think the main 5. There's usually 5 people at the government: the Hand, the Maester,
the Hand, the Grand Maester, the Master of Coin, Master of Ships, Master of Laws, and the Master of Whispers.
So there's 6 plus the King.
Yeah. With Robert, Stannis was the Master of Ships, but he was never at the small councils for whatever reason.
Okay.
Because he was at Dragonstone, but he was still a part of the council. He was the Master of Ships, which the son of the Queen of the ones took over.
Yeah.
As.
And I'm just gonna go right now and.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna say my part there is that I think Daenerys is gonna be killed, and it's gonna be by Jon Snow. And I think it's because it's going to fulfill the prophecy of Azor Ahai. And in the prophecy, they'd already talked about Lightbringer before, but they didn't mention the fact that Lightbringer went through 3 processes of being, what's the term, heated or smelted, and then the 3rd one was when Azor Ahai put his sword into his wife Nisa for the last one, and then after that it became Lightbringer and was able to defeat the White Walkers and push them back. And I think she's going to be the Nisa in this, and Jon is going to be the Azor Ahai.
Yeah, that's very interesting concept of that too. But yeah, I think say the things again.
What?
The ships.
Master of Ships, Master of Coins, Master of Laws, Grand Maester, Master of Whispers, and
Hand of the King.
And Hand of the King, yes.
Yeah, I think and when it comes to that, she's going to be Master of Laws, Tyrion, Hand, Sam, Grand Maester, Jon, the King, the 7th. That just leaves Whispers, ships.
So you think that would be Varys?
Varys, yeah. I think he's going to die. Especially after what Melisandre said. I think he's going to die. But we'll get to him. The ships, I think it's going to be Theon. Or Yara, but Theon. Actually, I take it back. It's going to be Yara. It's going to be Yara. So there's Yara, and then that leaves Whispers and ship. No, I just said ship. Whispers and.
Did you say Master of Coin yet?
Coin. There it is. Davos, Coin. Whispers.
Well, Davos is anything would be of ships, because his name is Seaworth.
True, but then the Greyjoy actually has the ships.
Yeah, okay. Master Coin seems fine enough.
Because he's very...
He knows his way about money.
And in Whisper, Jorah Mormont. That's what I'm thinking here. Or Missandei. Ooh, Missandei. Missandei is a master of whispers.
She knows a lot of whispers.
She does. Missandei is great. Not Melisandre. I hope she dies. But Missandei. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
But let's talk about Yara. I think she'll survive. I think Theon is going to be able to save her from Euron.
I also believe that he will save her from Euron.
Mm-hmm.
But how about, do you have anything else to say, or we go right into Theon?
I really like Yara. I thought she was very, at first when you meet her, she's a trickster, but then she becomes a complete and total hero.
Yeah.
She still has her negatives, but she's still a hero.
It's funny to see her in the commentary because of how different she is. When she sees the Euron, she's always like, "Oh, there's Unky Euron."
Which is why I changed for
And
Theon.
I think she was. I think she was the one who said that. I think Davos, the guy who played him, played the dad in like her favorite childhood movie, which was like The Last Princess or something.
That's cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is why I changed Yara and Theon. I think Theon is going to have his biggest redeeming moment by saving her from Euron, but it will mean the death of him.
That's what I was also thinking.
Yeah, I think he will die. Who ends up killing him? I do not know. I couldn't tell you. I don't think he'll become a white, but I don't know.
I'm gonna just go with Euron. I think it's gonna be a situation where like he's gonna stab him with the axe, but then like before he dies, like kicks him in the balls. One more time.
Have that same exact scenario happen again.
Yeah. It's all about mirroring, but I think it's gonna be they kill each other in order to save her.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm just gonna.
Good thing I looked at
I'm gonna say this. A white kills him. Like he ends up saving her, and they end up meeting back with everyone else to get that final battle against the Night King. And I think he'll die because of a white. One of the zombies gets him.
Yeah. You know what's interesting in the books? Euron, he actually owns Valyrian armor.
Oh wow!
It was actually said that he went to the doomed, the ruins of Valyria, actually went through it, and in the book he also has a horn, a dragon horn, that can be used to summon dragons, but at the same time it kills most people that try to use it. So that's probably going to be a plot point in the book. But he's actually kind of a cool character because of that. I mean, he's kind of cool.
He's a complete douche.
Yeah, I don't know why they couldn't just like given him the armor. That would have been a more interesting concept, especially after you see the ruins of Valyria.
Mm-hmm.
To see a person who went there and survived and was able to get an entire armor, and it would also make him more intimidating because you talked about how much Valyrian armor and how good the steel is, than to have someone use it. And you could also probably kill a White Walker by like jumping on him.
And now we go to Melisandre. I think she'll die, especially with her saying that, looking at her in the prophecy. I think she will die. I couldn't tell you how, so I'm just gonna go with, if I don't know, I'll just say she dies because of a white. I don't think she'll turn though. Which is really hard because so many can turn.
Well, I'm just gonna go out there and limit and say she will turn and will be a white.
So a white kills her and she turns.
Yes.
Okay.
It's possible. I don't know how she's gonna die either. I'm just going with that.
It
Maybe strangled to death by Davos Seaworth. That was funny in their panel they did between the seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, I think it was after the season that they brought Jon Snow back, but like they were sitting next to each other, and like he came out and did like because of the.
Right.
I think it must have been before though he found out about it. That the character found out about it because I think in one of the questions he's like, well, when he finds out about it, he's gonna want her dead more than anything else. Because the thing is like any character you want dead, and like people picking Cersei's, and he's like, once he finds out what she did, it would be her.
Yeah. I think I've hated her since season 3 when we first meet her, or season 2 when we first meet her. She's a very interesting character, and when you see her when
very
she
good looking too,
until she disrobes completely, and you're like, yeah, and you're like,
the normal disrobing looks better.
And it's so interesting.
Another question for
when it comes to her religion too.
When like that, they were asking about nude scenes, and she's like, "I just want to know ahead of time when I have a nude scene, so I can get to the gym."
And let's go with Jorah Mormont.
Jorah Mormont.
He has been through some things, and he survived. What was it?
Grayscale.
I think he'll survive. He survived Grayscale. I think he'll survive this final war as well.
I think he's gonna die.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure why, but I would just probably say white because I don't know what else wise.
I mean, I know. I'm setting myself up for. Oh my gosh, what the heck? And you're just going dies.
I do have a surprising amount of deaths here.
Yeah.
I thought at first I was going with a surprising amount of living.
Mm-hmm. But yeah.
Well, at least the next guy.
If he dies though, maybe Tyrion. Because that would definitely want Daenerys. That would cause Daenerys to go mad if the man who's been with her since day 1 dies because of her hand. She will chop that hand off so fast.
Or he dies by becoming enslaved by someone, like the Night King, making him a white. Going back to his whole point about him enslaving people. And I'm not going to just let that go. A lot of people let it go because they like Jorah Mormont, but it's like, no, you also did slavery. That's not cool, and your excuse of my wife wanted fancy things is not really good enough.
True. But yeah.
So he will also become a white.
Okay. Oh man.
But maybe he ends up dying because of a failed plan from
Tyrion, causing Daenerys to. Hey. Tyrion has a plan. Jorah is on the forefront, dies by a white because of it, and gets turned, causing Daenerys to go crazy.
Yes, it makes
there
sense.
You go. We're just writing this on the fly here.
Yeah.
The Hound. We're going to your favorite character, the Hound. Of course he survives.
Yes. I mean, to be fair, I'd be okay with him dying as long as he gets to kill the Mountain. Because of it, after that, his arc is fine. But
I would be upset because I would want the Hound to team up with Giantsbane, and both of them become the leaders of the armies. Giantsbane, obviously the leader in the north, Hound the leader in the south.
I don't know. I think he'll stay in the north because I think he wants going to stay with Sansa. I'm not necessarily full on Sansan theory here, but you know I think she's still, which is the romantic
shipping.
The shipping of Sansa and Sandor.
Yeah.
Not fully on to that because I don't think it's just going to happen because I think she's just probably realistically too young for him. But I think she'll be, her the head of the Queen's Guard for the North.
Yeah. And the mountain dies.
Yes.
And with the mountain dying, I do believe his bringer is going to be dead as well. Starts with a Q. I already forgot his name.
The Kyburn?
Yeah. Cersei's Grand Maester.
Well,
But
not Grand Maester, he's the hand in that position.
oh, okay.
Because the Grand Maester actually has to be elected by the Maesters. The king can't determine who is the Maester or not. The Grand Maester.
Gotcha. But yeah, I do believe the mountain's gonna die by the Hound.
Mhm.
And I know you say that as well. It's gonna be very early on in the season when Cersei is trying to uproot everything, and Jaime's like, "No, what are you doing? You're gonna cause more deaths than anything. We are not gonna survive this." Obviously, the Hound is with Daenerys and all of them, and then that's when Jaime turns, and the Mountain's trying to get to Cersei because he knows what Jaime's about to do.
And so it all should be known.
Hound gets him,
I believe the Hound's going to kill him with a flaming sword.
and that will be one of the coolest visuals ever.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, next will be Sam Altali.
I already spoiled this one for me. I think he'll live and become the Grand Maester. Because that was his dream for a long time. I think his dream will be realized.
I'll give it. I'll say it lives.
Okay.
That's a tough decision.
It is, because we both love Samuel Tully. His arc of being a coward to actually killing a White Walker to going to the Maester's
and
land.
doing his most heroic thing was standing up to his father.
Mm-hmm. Standing up to his father, going to the Maester,
Because it was
stealing the books that he needs in order to survive.
Because it was easier to kill a White
Mm-hmm.
Walker than to stand his father there.
He got cooked nice and crispy.
Yeah. We can also put another obvious one down here.
Baby Sam.
Yeah, I don't think Baby Sam's getting killed.
And I'm hoping Gilly survives as well. I think Sam is gonna be the one to get, like, after all is said and done, abolish the Maesters can't marry and all that, and he's gonna have, at the end, he's gonna have Gilly as his wife. That will be because after all the death and despair, we're gonna need something of a romantic wedding. Just like Samwise in Lord of the Rings, Samwell will have his wife in his marriage.
Yeah.
Which leads to Lord Varys. I think he'll die just like in the
Melisandre's prediction.
yes, in her prophecy. I think he's gonna die. I think he will turn white.
We definitely need to learn beforehand, though, what he heard in the fire.
Mm-hmm.
I also say he'll turn white, and since I'm not
And I think
sure,
the one to kill him will be right before she dies. Melisandre.
Nah, I'm just saying white because I'm not 100% sure.
Neither am I. I'm just guessing. Yeah. I think before her death, her doing after their little scene before she leaves and he stays, I think it would be really interesting for her to be the one to kill him and why he gets turned. I'm not saying she's going to be sentient about it. She might have already died and become a white, but it'd be interesting to see Melisandre kill him.
Interesting point about that filming is that They said he almost got flown off the cliff because of the winds were so high.
Oh my.
Yeah, they had to strap everyone down to like tether them down while standing on top of that cliff, and that they couldn't actually hear each other when doing it.
That's impressive. Oh my gosh. Davos Seaworth.
No, Brianna.
That's what I meant. Brienne of Tarth.
That looks so familiar. I think.
They're TH. They both end in RTH. There we go. Drat. Brienne. I'm gonna.
Isn't it kind of interesting? She doesn't really have a last name.
Mm-hmm. It is. I think she'll die, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And she'll turn. And she'll have 2 deaths. The first one being because of a white.
I think it's going to be in a fight against the Night King himself, personally.
And then the second, after she turns white, Podrick. Because what a story if she's a zombie and Podrick has to be the one to finally take her out. Mm-hmm. That'll be very emotional. But I do think she is not surviving this series. Fun fact, the actress who portrays Brienne of Tarth has done way more in Game of Thrones than she will ever do in Star Wars. You know who she was in Star Wars?
Was she the one female stormtrooper thing?
Mm-hmm.
No. Okay. Yeah, she definitely does more in Game of Thrones. Unless she gets to be brought back another time for the 3rd movie somehow.
Yeah.
That's still dumb in that first one. When she has special laser pistol proof armor and still gets intimidated into giving the...
Uh-huh.
They could have just made that any normal stormtrooper and it would have been better.
And it would also... And after they threw her in a dump chute, how does she get out? How does she survive that quickly? How does she get out of the planet after it blows up? And then her just randomly showing up at the very end of the Last Jedi was one of... Yeah, let's not do that. That's for another day. That's for another episode. Davos Seaworth. Oh, drat. I want him to survive. I want him to survive to become Hand of the King. But did I put him in my 6? Or my 7?
Yeah, that's point.
Yeah. I want him to survive. I'm going to say he survives.
I will also say survive. I think he'll be the Hand of...
The Hand? Okay.
Yes.
That's another good position. Mm-hmm. Of Jon Snow?
Yes. I didn't want to say it because I didn't thought... But yeah, whatever. I give away my last question. You already did. Basically.
My bad.
No, it's fine.
I mean, okay. I have the same one.
I mean, he's already gotten to the point where he's the Hand of Jon already.
True.
So.
Yeah.
Next is Braun.
Not Strowman.
No.
For all of you Smart Wrestling Alliance watchers out there.
Apparently he's going to be heading up north because there's apparently bad blood between him and the actress who plays Cersei. Apparently there was a bad breakup. I guess they were dating and there's a bad breakup between. So they demanded that they don't work together. So he's not going to be down. He's maybe meets up with Jamie to head up north. Mm-hmm. But he's not going to be working with her, which I see probably means he's not going to make it.
Yeah, I don't think Braun is surviving either. I really like this character too because he's really funny. Mm-hmm. In seasons 3, 4, and 5, some of the best stuff came from him. Even in 6 and 7, he has a lot of good stuff. He saves Jamie on countless times. He's the one that taught him how to fight with his
his
left hand. And yeah, I would love for him to survive, but I think he will die and he will turn white. He'll die in the main war by a white.
I would say he'll get up there to die to the Night King.
Ooh. I mean, people who die to the Night King, because you have Brienne dying to the Night King too, right?
Yeah. Because I think she's definitely going to be up front because they want to get anyone with Valerian steel to get to him first. And I think he's just going to be up there because he's going to be accompanying Jaime. I think he's going to be there with the Widow's Wail.
So anybody who gets killed off by the Night King, you know they meant something to the creators and the writers and the series people. And they really love those characters, so to give them like death that spectacular is intense. Alright, next is Podrick Payne.
Also known as Podrick Pleasure. Also known as the god of wine and tits.
I think he will die. And I don't think he'll turn white.
Tormund needs his pleasure, though.
But
we need to know.
And I do think it will be a white, but he just won't turn white. But I think he'll die after, and because I said he'll be the second death to Brienne in my prediction. I think after he kills off Brienne, he's gonna feel that weight, and because he's not seasoned to that type of feeling, even though he has killed some people in the past, not someone that he's looked up to, not someone he's respected, and he's gonna drop his guard and get run through. I think that's my prediction there. Yeah.
Next is Tormund Giantsbane.
I think he'll survive and be a part of Mr. Snow's
council.
Council. Not the council. The
like a general in the army.
Yeah. Basically, what Jaime Lannister is in that army, Tormund is going to end up being.
You know, actually, changing my mind because I think if Brienne's not going to make it, he's not going to make it either.
I was thinking that too. I was thinking that too.
Love separated like that.
Man, if both of them survive and we get 2 weddings, Tormund and Brienne plus Samwell and Gilly, that would be the best. But I think he's been around a lot of heartbreak, a lot of heartache already. He's the one who gave Jon the best advice ever. Mance Rayder didn't bend the knee, and it got him killed.
He said how many people had to die for his pride. I also loved his conversations with the hounds. Dick. Yeah, it means cock. Oh, Dick. I like it.
Of course you do.
Oh no, not that way. Only pussy for me.
And then, I think he'll survive. Even though he'll have heartache, I think he'll survive and be the leader of the armies. Grey Worm. I want him to survive so bad. I think he's gonna die though. By the Night King.
Yes. I think White, as I always say, he dies in the same area that Jorah Mormont does. In a very mirrored reflection of that attack in Marine that killed, what's his name?
The guy who leaves the guard.
Yeah, gets kicked out of the guard, yeah. I think it's going to be something similar to that.
Okay.
But he doesn't make it this time. And
does he turn white?
Yes.
Ooh.
which is how Daenerys and Missandei find out about it, and they're devastated. But Missandei will live with the devastation.
I also want Missandei to live, so I will say she lives. I will predict she lives. I love that character. She's such an amazing person, and I think she will be the representative outside of the Seven Realms. Like, we have the North, we have outside of that. I think that's where she comes in.
Next up, we have Gendry Baratheon. I think he will live.
I do too, and I also believe he'll head the armies with Tormund and the Hound. So I saw this name. I don't recognize it.
Sir Beric, the one who gets revived from the
okay, the dude with the flaming sword.
Yes.
Yeah, he's totally dead.
Yeah, I don't.
Unfortunately,
think he's gonna survive this battle. What do you think he's gonna be killed by?
He won't turn white because of the fire. I think the god of fire will just set his body on fire after his true death. So and it's gonna be against the Night King. He almost jumped the rail so many times before to try to get to him. He'll do it again, but this time it'll be his end. And maybe it's his self-sacrifice. Maybe he knows the plan they have won't work. So he's going, you know what? I need to do this to get them out of here. To give them an extra 2 episodes. That's what I'm thinking.
That's exactly what it says too. An extra 2 episodes.
It's episode 4. It's like the next 2 episodes they have to survive. So I must do this. And everyone in the audience is like, did they really do that?
What? The fourth wall.
Euron won't turn white. Theon will kill him. But yeah, he's totally dead. He is totally dead.
And I'm just answering the last 2 questions.
Okay, yeah.
Kills the Night King. I already said it as Azor Ahai, Jon. And sits on the throne. I also already said Jon.
I think sits on the throne. I agree with you. It will be Jon. However, I think, like I said, because Bran has to kill himself and stuff, I think it'll be Bran Stark, which is why he's completely. The Night King is completely set on Bran. I think he will be the downfall to him. Whether it's Jon killing a warg, a warg Bran, or if it's a warg Bran somehow being able to kill himself. I think it's going to be something like that. Yeah, those are our predictions.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's hope it goes better than your March Madness bracket.
Well, my March, you know what? It sucked.
You're gonna try to defend it with saying that?
I couldn't even get the words out.
Yeah.
So
you couldn't lie that much.
Nope. Yeah. At least I did good in the first 2 rounds, where DJ was completely eliminated after round 2.
Mm-hmm.
But after round 3, that's when I died. But yeah, holy crud! I think I'm half and half. And I think we're both half and half.
Yeah.
We have a little bit of similarities, a little bit of differences. I know you have a little bit more turning white than I do. Oh boy! All right, that's our episode, everybody. We have I'll in the description after everything is finished. I'll put in a time code for when we do our Deadpool. First half is our full-on episode. Second half is just a little fun little Deadpool thing that we wanted to do. All right, next week, in celebration of Star Wars celebration, we will be talking about South Park. I'm just kidding, guys. Of course, it'll be Star Wars. Next week is all about Star Wars. A lot of stuff has been announced, and next week when the show starts, we'll let you know where our focus topic is and how we and what we talk about. But at least now you know we're talking about Star Wars. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like what we do, please give us those sexy, sexy likes.
And the unsexy ones.
And then go and share this video and all of our videos to all of your friends.
And enemies.
After you do that, make sure that you subscribe to this channel and be a loyal subscriber and a part of the Skeleton Army. After you do that, ring the notification bell because
You want to get notified for when we go live for this podcast and when we put up other videos like the Anna Monday videos that Isa does, or any other type of polls or information we put up there.
yes, of course. And then make sure that you follow me on Twitter at IsaJ_STP.
Follow me on Twitter at Liam_SWA.
And then I guess that's everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And until next time, everybody, it will be awesome.
But we find out about what Podrick did to the women. That's the question that needs to be answered.
Probably not, though.
Oh.
We won't know.